Coming up today, our exclusive interview with retiring Trinity University President Danny Anderson.
And we will talk about controversy at the Alumni Weekend, BETO O'Rourke running for Texas Governor, and Adele's new album.
All this and more right now on Newswave. Thank you for joining us. Welcome to our last Newswave episode of the fall 2021 semester. Today is Friday, November 19th. I'm James Crosno.
And I'm Caleb Reed. Trinity University's annual Alumni Weekend invites alumni back to campus. However, this year it was full of tension. Alumni were spotted indoors without masks despite Trinity University's current COVID-19 protocols. Approximately 800 alumni and friends were gathered at events, and despite many of these events being outside, many were also still inside. Pictures of unmasked alumni spread online, and students became frustrated at the apparent special privileges given to the alumni. To counter rumors of alumni special privileges, Trinity asserted that staff working events attempted to get alumni to wear masks and modeled good mask-wearing behavior. According to the Trinity Senior Director of Alumni Affairs, quote, campus guests were all required to come to a central check-in and provide proof of a negative COVID test. Those who arrived without documentation were invited to purchase an on-site test from the COVID test center, end quote. Trinity does not condone the alumni's actions of not wearing masks inside, but claims that due to the required negative test for alumni, there is a low risk. Trinity will continue with their current COVID protocols.
On November 15th, President Joe Biden signed a $1 trillion infrastructure deal into law on the White House lawn before a bipartisan crowd. The aim of the package is to improve roads, bridges, and ports, as well as provide the country with clean drinking water, high-speed internet access, and a shift away from fossil fuels. Over the course of the following week, Biden traveled outside of Washington to sell the plan, including to New Hampshire, Detroit, and a trip to the ports of Baltimore last week. Coming up, ARAMARK students.
And what Governor Greg Abbott said about BETO O'Rourke running for governor.
And a San Antonio woman who set her ex-boyfriend's car on fire. All after the break.
Follow the path that empowers you. Follow the path that empowers you to be your best self. Surround yourself with people who embrace your quirks, who don't settle, who seek a life without regret, who know how to win, but aren't afraid to fail. Be part of an elite network with those who know what success is all about. Be brave enough to have a fulfilled life. Trinity University. Discover, grow, become.
Welcome back to Newswave. This past Monday, November 15th, Beto O'Rourke, former U.S. Congressman and Democratic candidate for president in 2020, announced his candidacy for the Texas gubernatorial elections in 2022. Beto ran in the 2018 Texas Senate elections against incumbent Senator Ted Cruz, suffering a marginal loss followed by a brief bid for the Democratic presidential primary. In 2020, his candidacy contests the Republican Governor Greg Abbott's re-election campaign, who has recently lost approval due to a controversial stretch of laws enacted in the fall of 2021. Despite a decline in his support, Abbott remains a strong candidate whose campaign will be bolstered by recently redrawn electoral districts. Both candidates have openly criticized their opponents' namely radical, divisive platforms, and Governor Abbott proclaimed, quote, he wants to take away your guns and deny you your Second Amendment rights. We will not let that happen in the state of Texas. Both candidates have received criticism recently due to campaigning tactics or legislative decisions, but both retain a solid electoral track record in the state. The Republicans are banking on a $55 million war chest, along with Abbott's advantage with typical Texas Republicans. Meanwhile, Beto and the Democrats, who exhausted funds on the 2020 presidential and legislative elections in Texas, may have to scramble to rebuild the strong display of voters it put forward in 2018. We at Newswave will be sure to give you more campaign updates as they arise.
On to news closer to home now. ARAMARK has come under fire at Trinity in recent weeks. An October 21st opinion piece in the Trinitonian highlighted an on-campus group called Tigers Against ARAMARK. The group aims to, quote, get rid of ARAMARK, end quote, according to Brandon Naday, one of the members. The company, which has ties to the prison systems in America, has been the subject of debate on campus since around last year. Instead of ARAMARK, the group is instead trying to push for more self-dining options. A third-party study is ongoing to find whether the option would be feasible. Meanwhile, a San Antonio woman, Sierra Flores, was recently arrested and charged with arson after attempting to light her ex-boyfriend's car on fire last Sunday. Surveillance footage shows Flores driving up next to the vehicle at around 5:20 a.m. and throwing a Molotov cocktail towards it. The woman missed and drove away, only to return minutes later, walking up to the victim's car with a small trash can that she ignited with gasoline. She then placed the lit container under his car and drove off. Luckily, the victim noticed the flames and quickly drove the vehicle away from them, but the fire did damage the driver's side tires of the car. Flores has since been apprehended and questioned by police, and her bond is currently set at $12,000.
Our international correspondent Maddie Poljan gives us a look at Christmas celebrations already underway in Sweden. Let's take a look.
It may not be Thanksgiving yet in the US, but here in Stockholm, Sweden, Christmas is already in the air. With lights, trees, and Christmas markets projected to open soon, the holiday spirit is projected to only grow in the upcoming weeks. This week, I took to the streets of Stockholm and the classrooms of DIS to ask some Swedes what their favorite Swedish holiday traditions are.
We have several Christmas traditions like Lucia, Advent, and of course Christmas Eve, julafton. But my absolute favorite is actually not Christmas Eve, it's Advent. Advent is the 4 Sundays coming up to Christmas. And on Advent, every Advent we lit a candle and we have some spicy warm wine. We call it glögg, and we eat pepparkakor, Swedish ginger biscuits, and also saffron buns. And Advent is my favorite Christmas tradition, just because it's this you just wait for Christmas, and it's a cozy time. It's a cozy Sunday, and it's dark outside, and it's actually the darkest time of the year. So it's really nice to have those candles and the warm spicy wine and the nice biscuits and saffron buns.
My favorite Swedish Christmas tradition is Advent, which is actually the 4 Sundays before Christmas. So every Sunday before Christmas you light one candle like you see here, and you do it gradually so that they end up at an angle, because you light 1 and then you light 2 and then 3 and 4. But it's also just a time that you get together with your family or whoever and just kind of take a break and have something good to eat, something to drink, some tea or glögg, and just kind of take it easy. And it's nice because Christmas is usually so busy, you end up just doing so many things. There's, performances and work dinners and, just running around shopping and doing lots of things. So just taking that moment to kind of just enjoy your time with your friends and family. It's a really nice tradition.
Well, one of my favorite Swedish Christmas traditions are on Christmas Eve at 3 o'clock, Sweden stops completely between 3 and 4, because that's when Donald Duck and Friends are airing on TV. And it's a tradition in Sweden since the 60s that family gather together around that show. And we drink mulled wine, we eat cinnamon buns, and crack our Christmas nuts and all that. And it's such a good time. And it makes us all relive our childhood. And it's something that both kids and older generation enjoy as well.
One of the Swedish Christmas traditions that I love the most is that every year on Christmas Eve, the day we here in Sweden celebrate Christmas, we gather around at 3 o'clock to watch this from 1958 Christmas special episode from a Disney show. In English, it's called From All of Us to All of You. In Swedish, it's called Kalle Anka och hans vänner önskar en god jul. And it's these clips from different Disney movies, and except in the end where it's a teaser trailer for a new Disney movie. Otherwise, it's the same program every year. And I think that is one of the most Swedish things that I can imagine doing for Christmas.
My favorite Swedish Christmas tradition is actually nothing specific, but I think the entire season, like after the first Advent, when the Christmas market is open and all the lights and the serenity and sense of community that everybody shares, like people are happy, they're shopping and saying hello to each other and just planning for Christmas and just being in a merry mood.
Between Advent, Donald Duck cartoon, and a general Christmas spirit, it's clear that there are many holiday traditions here in Sweden. However, I must say, after an incredible experience abroad, I'm looking forward to being back in Texas for Christmas and to being back at Trinity in the spring. See you in 2022, Texas. Madison Polkin, Newswave 14.
Stay tuned. We've got an exclusive interview with President Danny Anderson coming up.
And then we'll get to listen to sports, entertainment, and a new student expert.
We'll be right back.
Follow the path that empowers you to be your best self. Surround yourself with people who embrace your quirks, who don't settle, who seek a life without regret, who know how to win, but aren't afraid to fail. Be part of an elite network with those who know what success is all about. Be brave enough to have a fulfilled life. Trinity University. Discover, grow, become.
Welcome back to Newswave. Earlier this fall, Trinity University President Danny Anderson announced his retirement at the end of this year. Our associate producer Danny Wynn sat down with him to hear some of his departing thoughts. Let's take a look.
Special interview on Newswave, Trinity University student news broadcast on campus station Tiger TV. My name is Danny Wynn, class of 2024, and here with me today, again for the first time in person, is the 19th president of Trinity University, President Danny Anderson. President Anderson, thank you for being here.
Thank you, Danny. It's a real pleasure, and I'm glad we get to do this time in person.
Yes, the last time, I believe it was in January 2021, and now we're in November, about to end 2021. There's a lot of progress been made, and it's nice to finally be in person. Speaking of being in person, like with campus vaccination rates being like in the mid 90% here on campus, and case numbers being extremely and surprisingly low, what would you say is the reason why Trinity is doing so well in regards to the pandemic?
So I think there are a variety of reasons. One of them would be our community really cares about being an in-person community. So when we ask people to get vaccinated, to share vaccination information, we really had a pretty easy time getting people to cooperate. Faculty and staff were very committed to doing that because they very much want to be together and with students. And then students also really wanted to be back on campus. They wanted to try and recover the kind of student experience that we had before the pandemic. The Delta variant has made it a little bit harder because it threw a curveball right at the start of the semester. So we are doing a little bit more on the social distancing practices than we had hoped to be able to do. But that sense of cooperation is really strong. The other thing that I'd say is that there are really great team members who lead and organize things behind the scenes. When we realized how challenging the pandemic was going to be, we created what we call the Nerve Center, and our Vice President for Strategic Communication and Marketing, Tess Kuti-Anders, and she's been supported by the Vice President for Enrollment Management, Eric Malouf. They really have led that group to think about what are all the moving pieces that need to be coordinated so that we're keeping the campus safe. So they have done a lot of work with all kinds of task forces that involve faculty and staff, raising many questions, thinking about decisions, but the ability to plan in a central coordinated way, and then having a group of people who wanted to carry out those plans so they could be together really has made it possible for us to be where we are.
We've had some really fun events like these past few months in this fall semester. For example, like Fall Family Weekend, Alumni Weekend, the New York School of Business celebration, Vivas Las Americas, even the Flocktober concert, and so much more that I'm pretty sure will be on the pipeline for this this school year. And so, what have been some of the highlights for you this school year so far, with everything being almost back to normal?
So for this specific school year, some of the highlights, I'd say I'd be a little bit like you in that I love being outside when it's between classes and you get to see everybody coming and going and moving around because we do not require masks outside, and you see groups of people congregating and doing things that feel more typical of what you expect on a college campus. The other thing for me has been, I am the president who is the chair of our athletic conference. I was the chair of it last year throughout the whole COVID period. We're one of 8 Division III conferences that managed to play all of our games and all of our sports last year. Most people gave up on it, but we found a way. I was asked to be the president of it again, to chair it this year too. Usually it's only a 1-year stint, but given all the complexity, I've done that. But being able to have spectators at games, seeing our student athletes out playing in a much more normal way. We're still doing things to keep them safe, but they're having phenomenal success this year in terms of the athletic season. Watching the ways that there is creativity among our faculty, music events are happening. We're having concerts, different things. We're being able to use TV and broadcasting, streaming, so that people can attend virtually. But that return to the kind of things that students at a residential liberal arts college want to be doing, and to be able to enjoy them, makes all the difference in the world. So that return to a more normal pattern really makes me proud.
Yeah, I mean, I attended the Trinity Symphony concert I believe during the Halloween weekend, and just the immersive atmosphere was just a round of applause, and when the conductor comes in, and it's kind of that liveliness that we've all pretty much have craved for these past year to 2 years, and it's definitely nice. And even when we had that to recall back to the New York School of Business celebration, everyone was out there having fun, eating some good Missouri food, and it was just a lot. It's really nice to get all the kind of that atmosphere back. I mean, academics has always been pretty top tier even during the pandemic, but I would say our social abilities have been really hindered. Seeing all of that come back into action has been quite exciting, and it's definitely encouraging. Absolutely. Yeah, this semester's definitely been a semester of celebration, and also it's a good chance to take a look back and where we've been, and kind of transitioning to that topic. On October 11th of this year, you had announced your retirement due at the end of this academic year. And in your term as president since June 2015, how would you describe Trinity's evolution to where it was to where it is now?
So Trinity is an incredible school. It is great. And when I started my first year, one of the things that I did is I went on a tour and I visited every alumni chapter in the U.S. I also spent time visiting all of the departments on campus, talking with people. And one of the core messages that I've received from everyone is, we need greater national recognition. People say you're a hidden gem. What's it going to take to get rid of that word hidden and just be recognized as you're a real gem in the state of Texas? So we've been working on thinking about how can we create greater alignment. And I'd say that some of the changes would be that I feel like we've worked hard to make our priorities clearer to the campus. When your priorities are clear, then you can do more to get more progress on them, and that brings you greater recognition nationally. In terms of admissions, just to give you an example, we restructured the way that we think about how admissions and some of the supporting offices are coordinated, and created a vice president for enrollment management. And Eric Malouf was promoted into that role from being the director of admissions. And the kind of things that he's done in terms of building a partnership with strategic communication and marketing. We use a lot of data analytics to think about, are we using a good process for recruiting our students? We are thinking about, how do we understand what about the Trinity experience makes a difference if a student understands it in terms of picking Trinity. We're not trying to persuade just anyone to come here. We need that the right information is available to help a student who's going to be successful here pick Trinity. And so, we've also had great conversations about diversity, equity, and inclusion. And we've used the umbrella title of inclusive excellence to talk about some of the goals. And so we have many projects that are going on, and working to make them more aligned and visible will help us think about what are the steps we're taking to ensure that Trinity is a place where everyone feels like they belong, both students faculty and staff. So I feel like those are sort of big projects, but they have to do with topics that matter today, but they're also looking at, are we organized in the right way so that we really can achieve everything that's within our grasp?
Pretty much that kind of wraps up our interview. We have one final question, and this the interesting thing about this question is it's pretty much you addressing the audience that's watching our interview today. And so you can look at one of our B cameras here, and the question is pretty much, lastly, what do you want to say to the Trinity community?
So the thing that I would say to the Trinity community is, you are a phenomenal human organization. I would just encourage you, as you look at our world and realize all of the invitations to buy into drama triangles, to finger point and blame others, to really step back and think about the things that you have to be grateful for and the ways that you can accomplish so much more by working together toward a shared goal, rather than picking at each other or blaming each other or only spending your time using your critical thinking skills only to talk about what's wrong. I feel like one of the things that's a big topic of discussion right now in terms of thinking about the future of liberal education is, how do we use critical thinking not simply to diagnose problems, but to really help people come together and think about ways that it is within our power to make choices that can lead to the solutions that will change things. So Trinity is a school, a community that can make a difference in the world. And that difference will be amplified by the alignment and unity, vulnerability, and trust that people can have with each other as they move forward.
And with that, that is all the time that we have for today. Thank you to President Danny Anderson for being here. To the Trinity community and beyond, stay safe and stay healthy. This is Danny Nguyen, Newswave 14, reporting.
And now we'll hand it over to Angelina for this week's entertainment news. Angelina, what's going on this week?
Thanks, Caleb. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Angelina Dalia with this week's entertainment news. First up, Adele's newest album, 30, debuted today after much anticipation from fans across the world. The album, inspired by her divorce from ex-husband Simon Konecki, was teased with the hit single Easy on Me and promoted with a CBS special. The special, titled Adele One Night Only, was a huge event for fans, featuring a star-studded audience, an interview with Oprah, and a surprise proposal. In other fan news, the Harry Potter franchise has made an exciting announcement for plans to celebrate the 20-year anniversary of the first film, Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. On January 1st, 2022, the cast will reunite for a special retrospective which promises to include interviews and a look at the making of the films. A few of the cast members who will be returning are Daniel Radcliffe, Rupert Grint, Emma Watson, Tom Felton, Helena Bonham Carter, Ralph Fiennes, and Gary Oldman. The special will be available for fans on HBO Max, TBS, and Cartoon Network. Next, for those of you who have been following the hashtag Free Britney movement, the fight is almost over. On November 12th, after nearly 14 years, Spears has been freed from the constraints of her conservatorship and is finally able to make her own personal and business decisions. Her story is not yet over, however, as she and attorney Matthew Rosengart have made it clear that they would investigate abuse and financial mismanagement that occurred on behalf of her father, Jamie Spears, during the conservatorship. Jamie Spears, however, has denied any wrongdoing and insists that any actions he took were within his authority as conservator of her estate. A hearing is scheduled for January 19th to address the bills and fees of the conservatorship, and it remains to be seen what will come of the investigation. And finally, as this is our last episode of the semester, I've compiled a list of some of the most anticipated films for the rest of 2021. First up, premiering today is King Richard, a biopic starring Will Smith that follows Venus and Serena Williams' upbringing and their relationship with their father and coach, Richard Williams. Next up, premiering November 24th, are House of Gucci and Encanto. House of Gucci is based on the true story of Patrizia Regani, played by Lady Gaga, and the betrayal of the Gucci family, including the murder of her husband, Mauricio Gucci, and played by Adam Driver. Encanto, meanwhile, is Disney's newest animated film, written in collaboration with composer and lyricist Lin-Manuel Miranda. Then, on December 10th, the story of Lucille Ball and Desi Arnaz, being the Ricardos, and musical remake West Side Story will premiere in theaters. On December 17th, the next installment in the Spider-Man franchise, Spider-Man No Way Home, is releasing, introducing fans to the multiverse once and for all. And finally, The Matrix Resurrections, Sing 2, and The Kingsman, all popular sequels to movies, will be released on December 22nd. This great slate of films is sure to keep us all entertained throughout the breaks, and we'll see what 2022 brings our way. And that's all we've got for today. Thank you so much for joining us, and have a great break.
Well, Trinity football returns to the playoffs for the first time since 2011 as they face off against the University of Mary Hardin Baylor tomorrow in Belton. The Tigers finished the season undefeated with a 55-21 victory last week over Rhodes, which gave them the SCAC championship. Also, men's soccer tied with the Pacific Lutheran 1-1 on the road last Saturday, while women's soccer won 1-0 against Hardin-Simmons University. Another win on Sunday for the women means that they play Christopher Newport University in the NCAA Championship in Cleveland, Ohio tomorrow. Both men's and women's basketball also took 2 big wins over McMurray last week in Abilene, Texas, and returned to action this weekend. The women tip off against Pacific today at 4, while the men play in Georgetown against Concordia. The women's cross-country team also placed 6th in Los Angeles last weekend and will travel to Louisville, Kentucky for the national championship. All of us here at Newswave wish them the best of luck. Meanwhile, in professional sports, the San Antonio Spurs have gone 0-4 in the last 7 days, falling to Dallas, the LA Lakers, and the LA Clippers. However, they have the weekend off to prepare for a game against the Phoenix Suns here in San Antonio after losing last night against the Minnesota Timberwolves 90-115. Meanwhile, in the NFL, the Cowboys beat the Atlanta Falcons in a game that was pretty much over well before halftime. Dallas rode 29 points in the second quarter to cruise to a 43-3 victory against Atlanta, raising their record to 7-2. Finally, for my personal segment, racing. In Formula One, Lewis Hamilton won the Sao Paulo Grand Prix on Sunday, closing the gap between him and Dutchman Max Verstappen in the championship. The race had controversy and intrigue from the start, with Hamilton being disqualified from an earlier session due to a gap in his rear wing being too large. However, late in the race, he was battling with the lead for Verstappen, who ended up pushing him off the track. Though Hamilton went on to win, the move was highly controversial. However, this weekend, they traveled to the Losail circuit in Qatar, a new addition to the 2021 calendar. This weekend, the race starts on Sunday at 8 o'clock a.m. That's it from me.
Thanks, Caleb. Our executive producer, Devin Karp, is back again with student experts. This time we'll hear from an intern at the Whitty Museum near campus. Let's take a look.
Thanks, guys. Welcome back to Student Expert. I'm Devin Karp, and I'm getting around campus to talk to different students who have had some pretty unique experiences around campus. And coming to us from our own Tiger TV management team, we have Maya Alarcon. Maya, thank you for joining us.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here.
So we know that you are a communications major, and I think a lot of viewers at home might know about communications, but what I wanted to talk to you today was about your internship. Could you tell us what you're doing right now?
Yes, so I am the marketing and communications intern at the Whitty Museum. I am actually the very first intern at this department. So right now I do a lot of different things around the museum. Right now, my main job is I'm helping with the Whitty Secret World Inside You, which is a new exhibit that opened. I help with social media curation, media kits, and pretty much anything in the marketing department that they need me to do. So it's a lot of different things right now.
Wow, what's it been like working there? I mean, I know the Whitty and Brackenridge Park is just a gorgeous area.
Oh, it is one of my favorite places to go. And the reason that I decided to start this internship was I was on a walk one day in the park, and I was looking at some of the graphics that they had there, and I was like, this would be such a cool opportunity to work there. Like, I'm so curious if they have anything. And I happened to look online, and there was an opening, and I did not think that I would get it, but sure enough, I am working there now since September. It has been wonderful. I get to work with people from all different departments. And right now I'm really just learning a lot of different parts of marketing, and then also getting to do a little bit of graphic design, which is definitely what I love doing.
Wow, that's amazing. So what has been your favorite exhibit at the museum so far?
Oh goodness, that's hard.
Yeah, I know there's a lot to choose from.
Well, I think in the past I would definitely say the dinosaur exhibit, because I love getting to walk in there every day. Having a giant T-Rex staring at you is always fun.
Pretty nice.
But yesterday, actually, they just opened the Black Cowboys exhibit, which is really, really wonderful. We had some of the original American cowboys come in. Yesterday, I actually got to tour one of them. Larry, he was incredible, and yeah, it's really wonderful to give a place, you know, where we can talk about this history and give people their due time. So that's my favorite right now, I think.
Well, that's amazing. Well, Maya, thank you for talking to us about your internship experience. Seems pretty awesome. You've got this camera right here. What would you say to anybody who's thinking about taking an internship at Trinity or something that might even be out of their field, might even come to you when you're on a walk into the park?
Yeah, definitely. If you're anything you're interested in, there's definitely a job and an internship position for you. Even if you don't think you're qualified, definitely go and try. I promise, like, the randomest things in my life have helped me so much with this internship. And I think, you know, the communication major is so interdisciplinary that's part of the reason that I could really excel in this position. So definitely try it. You will learn so much more than you will ever expect. So.
Well, great. Well, thank you so much for joining us, Maya. We really appreciate your time.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, back to you guys in the studio.
That's all the time we have this semester.
From everyone here at Newswave, we hope that you have a safe holiday season. I'm Caleb Reed.
I'm Angelina D'Elia.
And I'm James Crosno. We'll see you next year.